An undebatable fact is that misery loves company.
And I'm like, come on through, Cookie. I want to put my soapbox. That's basically it. Let's talk about drag and all its forms. What,
Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is season 1, episode 5 of Feud, Bette and Joan. And this whole episode basically covered the whole situation that surrounds the Oscars. In this episode, we saw misery at its finest. And honestly, Joan is literally just old. She's cantankerous. She's miserable. And she just wants to draw everybody in on it. And then I'll tell you who the person is who bought in. Well, she didn't have to buy in because she's probably even more miserable than Joan, is Hedda. The two of them, I said, wow, when you really got to see them, they are vicious snakes. At this point, I'm like, wow, this was something to see. But Olivia de Havilland, we've been seeing flashes of Olivia de Havilland, and I was wondering what part did Olivia play that we kept seeing flashes of her, and when was it that she was going to become involved, literally involved? Well, at the Oscars in 1963, that's when she became involved. Her and Bette are actually they were good. I want to say good friends. They were good friends the best way they knew how to be friends. But none of these ladies are actually friends. They're all jealous of each other, and they're either jealous of one another or want. Okay, because with Bette, I don't even know if Bette actually felt that way. Bette she liked Olivia. She liked her. She liked her company, and she seen her as a friend. Olivia de Havilland actually saw Bette as she's okay, but she thinks she's better than me. And I think we all have had that friend that you don't hate them for who they are, but you know on the deep down they think they're better than you, but you don't hate them or you don't punish them for it too much. You just kind of deal with them and say, that's on them. You know what I mean? And that's basically kind of like how it is. And that was kind of what their friendship was. But Olivia de Havilland was living in Paris at the time. And she literally, Bette called her and said, I need you here with me. She actually took Olivia with her as her date to the Oscars. She flew all the way in from Paris. She presented an award because she was up in the air on whether she was going to do the award or not. She was more than likely was going to turn down the offer to come and do an award, announce an award that year. But Bette wanted her with her, so she's like, okay, I'm going to come. And they came and they actually had a girls' night. And you know what? It was probably for the best, the way that everything turned out, that Bette Davis was not alone or with a male companion that night, because things went real left real quick. That would have probably been a really, really bad thing for her to have to actually work through by herself. Because even if there would have been a man who was, who took her to the Oscars, she would have basically still went through what it is that I'm going to explain by herself. So, very, very interesting. But at any rate, we found out in this episode that Olivia de Havilland actually had a feud of those proportions with her own sister. Her and her own sister were like, oil and water. It just was like, I could do without her, honey. I don't wish no bad on her, but if she died, I wouldn't feel bad. One of them kind of things. So, we got to see all that. We got to see how Joan was just, as the closer it got to the Oscars, the more she felt like she had to do something. She needed to do something because she was not nominated at all. And she felt as though she had been snubbed. And she felt the need to do something. So she ended up going to the Academy and offering her services to do a category, to announce a category. And then she threw in, yeah, and I would like for the Academy to throw in and pay for my hair and also get me a car, my makeup, and also a driver. And they were like, well, we don't do that. And she said, told the man who sat right in his office, but you will do that for me. And he did. And he did. She then contacted Hannah. Her and Hannah went back and forth. You know, she put on her act and she was crying and feeling some kind of way. And Hannah jumped right in with her miserable ass. And she said, wanted to make certain that things went her way. And she said, she made a comment, don't, because at one point she's like, oh, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I even said I would do it. This is just terrible. I'm going to cancel. I'm not going to do it. I had to tell her, you're going to do it. And you will be the one walking home with the Oscar, not her. And I'm saying to myself, well, how the hell is that going to be possible? She's not even nominated. So how's that even going to be possible? Maybe I get to see her and had to get on the phone, baby. They're on the phone and they're calling people and they're doing all this sideline talking, honey, and basically petitioning and carrying on and trying to move things and change the way that people feel about certain things and going on. They were really shaking the table is what they were doing. So of all the other people who were actually nominated, two of the actresses Joan got to. She got to Anne Bancroft, and she also got to Geraldine. I can't think of her last name. But she contacted both of these two. And she literally manipulated Geraldine into staying home and not worrying about it because she was all the way in New York and letting her accept her award for her. And the conversation was so horrible. And it just showed you the way that she talked to her and the way she used her Hollywood royalty thing and how she manipulated her. But the funny part was the younger actress, she's sitting there with her husband and told him, she said, he said, you want to really let that old broad manipulate you out of your night. And she said, she needs it. She needs it, and she needs to let Hollywood needs to know how they've done her over the years, the monster they've turned her into, and they just need to know how they've done her. And basically, she literally pitied Joan. You know, there was pity for her and the fact that she felt the need to go so low. Same exact thing when she went all the way to New York to Anne Bancroft and asked her, and it was another pity plea for the most part. And Anne Bancroft was giving you bitch as well, so she was given, you know what? I would love for you to go ahead and accept my award for me because I'm not going to be there anyway. And she never had any plans on going, but she had already planned for someone else to do it. Well, Joan came in person, baby, to her to change her mind, and it was so transparent. And again, she pitied her too. And the funny part was, she caught it from Anne Bancroft that she pitied her, but she was so far down in the dirt at that point that it really didn't even matter. You know what I mean? But with the first one, if she actually knew the way that the woman really felt, I think she would have just died. You know, to know that these women pitied her and that she looked foolish. And she did. She looked old and desperate and foolish and clawing her way to any form of spotlight. It was foolish. I said, well, go ahead, girl, but just nasty. So then she goes, she pulls out her big guns, baby. She contacts Edith Head, baby, because you know Edith Head is extraordinaire fashion designer, baby. So, and Edith Head, as a fashion designer, she knows how to be a bitch as well. Edith, baby, got her dressed. Everything in silver, baby, instead of gold, because you know the Oscars gold. Everything in silver, even down to her hair, baby. She had her hair was dusted. They had dusted her hair with a temporary coloring, and I was like, "What are they doing with this powder, child?" Honey, they put this glass over her face. Honey, got the sprinkling this powder. Put Joan in that dress, baby. She was in silver beaded fringe and sheer silk to the floor, honey. Gown was bad. And silver sparkle shoes, honey. And her hair was silver, baby. Gloves, the whole 9 yards. I said, girl, you better be clean, Miss Joan, honey. She was clean. Did you hear me? Clean, 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 clean. And the guy who she was dating at the time told her, he said, Joan, don't do this. Don't do this. He told her it's going to come across as an act of desperation. People are going to be talking about you, but not in a good way. You know, he was very honest with her. He said, don't do it. Don't try to steal the night from up underneath her. She was like, who? What are you talking about? Let them talk. It's not her night. Went on. She went on to, they go on to the thing, and that's what he told her. He said, you're better than this. And she said, no, I'm not. I said, oh. Went on, honey. Olivia and Bette was clean, clean, clean. They looked so nice. But the two of them went on, and it was like, they were like, child, we're going to ignore her. We're going to pay her dust. We're not even going to worry about it. You know, 'cause she wasn't even speaking. When she went in, and she was just having her night. She just went on in there. Then she turned the whole green room into her own private party. And the people from catering came down. They're like, Miss Crawford, you can't do this. You can't turn the green room into your own private party. You can't do that. The green room is here for everybody. Honey, she had her little Pepsi products and all of this and her own liquor, turned it right into her own party. Honey, she told him, he was steady talking. She said, light my cigarette. Honey, and he's still talking, and she's sitting there, honey, and she's going on, honey, and he lights the cigarette. And she's sitting there, he's still talking, and she's like, mm-hmm. Here's a drink. Drink up. Mm-hmm. Have a good night. And went right the fuck on, just like what he was saying. Didn't mean anything. I said, she's a mess. She was a mess. I mean, the characters that you seen Joan Crawford play, she wasn't acting. That was just her. That's just how she acted. She was just a bitch. I said, oh, she's too much, honey. She is just too much. She went on stage. It was just about time for her to do her award. Right before, Olivia kind of picked up on what was going on. And Bette was like, let's go to the green room and get a cocktail. And Olivia was like, I don't want to go over there. I don't want to go there. Because Bette had picked up on it. And she's like, you know, of course, Bette, like, girl. So she figured out what was going on. She busted in there, baby, and looked around, honey. There was people that were just having a good old time. This, that, and and you could see where Joan had literally just made the night all about her. And Bette just stared her down, honey. If looks could kill, she would have been laying on the floor. Do you hear me? And she looked at her. She walked over. She was steadily talking. She walked over to her, honey, and she looked at her and seen her all dressed in, I mean, even down to her fingernails were silver, honey. And she stood there and she stuck her hand and she said, good luck. And Bette looked at her, honey. And they said, Miss Crawford, 5 minutes, you're going to be doing your award. She's like, and turned around and walked away. They asked her on the red carpet, honey, Who are you pulling for tonight to win the actress award? She said, the winner, of course, and walked off. Just shade, honey. Just throw a shade everywhere, which way but loose, honey. Went on up there, and she actually was in the middle of actually right before Bette came in. She was in the middle of cracking another actress. This was a young actress. She's like 17 years old. I don't know who she was supposed to be, but she was the youngest actress to ever. She had made history that night. She was the youngest actress to ever have won an Oscar. I think it was in a supporting role. And so I think it was actually in the category that they thought she was going to fall into, but she didn't even fall into that category at all. And she was over telling her about etiquette, and because she had a little dog with her, she said, "He's my lucky charm." She said, "You do know it's bad etiquette to bring pets to the Oscars. Anything to dim someone's light or make them question themselves, or she's just miserable." And so she went through all that. She goes on stage, does her award. Then she goes from one side of the stage and goes to the other side of the stage. She stands behind Bette. Bette's standing in the wings. Stands behind Bette to see who's going to win. Well, when they go ahead and they call off the award, and Bette's there, and Bette, it was going to make history. If Bette were to win, she'd be the first woman with 3 Oscars. And so Bette was like really wanting to win and everything. And baby, they went ahead and they called off the winner. And the winner was Anne Bancroft. And so Bette, you could just see like the breath just leave out of her, like, damn, she was deflated. But that wasn't it, baby. When Joan walked up around her from the wings, honey, and walked out on stage to accept Anne Bancroft's Oscar, you could have bought Bette Davis for a pop bottle already spent, honey. She was just done. And Olivia Havilland's face just dropped like, are you fucking kidding me? Child, they went on, honey. Bette was in a funk, honey. Later that night, they were having a drink, and she just was going off. She was like, this is ridiculous. She's like, I hate her. And they said, are you doing double fisting, Bette? Because she had 2 drinks. She said, no. One is for me to drink. The other is for me to throw in Joan Crawford's face the next time I see her. I said, oh, I know that's right. It was a mess. And she just gloated. And when she came backstage, honey, she walked right up to Bette and walked past her. Oh, I was like, child, I punched her. I know I would have punched her, honey. She literally, just gloated. She took pictures. You accept somebody else's award. You just go on stage, you give the little speech, and then you go on. She took the woman's award, did all the press, stood around, took all the pictures like she had won. I said, oh, she is too much. She is too much, honey. But karma is a bitch. So just keep on watching, because after that, I believe, is when things really started getting bad. Because Joan didn't die a happy woman. Okay? So keep watching. Just keep watching. And I'll see you guys next week. But this was, I have to say, probably the best, maybe the best one so far. It was the most, I was like literally like hanging like on the end of the bed with this one. This was really a good episode. Keep watching. All right, guys. Later.